Ready to jump into another deep dive? You guys sent in this study guide for the LOTE 613 exam, and it's all about Spanish-speaking cultures.
Mm.
It really focuses on how language and culture are like two sides of the same coin. We're going to break it all down for you, hit the high points.
It's really amazing how much language reflects a culture, their history and beliefs, yeah, even their sense of humor.
Hmm. It's true. Learning a language isn't just about the words themselves. It's like getting a glimpse into a totally different way of seeing the world.
Yeah.
So how does this study guide actually define culture?
Well, it breaks it down into three main categories: products, practices, and perspectives.
Okay, products, practices, and perspectives.
Right. So products are all the things a culture creates. It could be something tangible, like flamenco dancing in Spain,
Oh, I see.
or it can be something intangible, like the novels of Gabriel Garcia Marquez from Colombia.
So products are like the what of a culture. Then what about practices? Does that cover how people interact and stuff?
Exactly. Practices are all about the everyday behaviors and rituals. Like, think about the custom of greeting someone with two kisses on the cheek. It's common in many Spanish-speaking cultures.
Oh, yeah.
It's a small gesture, but it really shows you how much they value warmth and personal connection.
I got it. So products are what they create, practices are how they do things, and then perspectives are like,
Perspectives are the underlying beliefs that shape how a culture sees the world. Like, for example, the concept of collectivism.
okay, collectivism.
It's super important in a lot of Hispanic cultures. It's this idea that the group is more important than the individual. It emphasizes things like family and community, and it can really influence everything from how people make decisions to how they define success.
So to really understand a Spanish-speaking culture, I need to consider all three of those things: what they create, how they act, and what they believe.
Exactly. But here's the thing to remember. The Spanish-speaking world is incredibly diverse. You can't just assume that everyone who speaks Spanish shares the same cultural norms. It'd be like saying that someone from London and someone from New York have the same exact outlook just because they both speak English.
Right, right. It's easy to forget that language is just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
What are some of the differences between Spanish-speaking cultures that people should be aware of?
Well, even simple words can have totally different meanings depending on where you are. Like, take the word cof, for example. In Spain, it just means to take.
Okay, to take.
But in some Latin American countries, it has, well, a very different meaning, a much more, let's just say, inappropriate meaning.
Oh, wow. I can see how that could lead to some awkward situation.
Definitely. Another difference is how you use the informal you. In Spain, they use vosotros to address a group of friends, but in Latin America, it's more common to use ustedes.
So even something as basic as saying you can be different depending on where you are.
Exactly. And while those differences might seem small, they can really matter. Using the wrong form can make you sound too casual or too formal, depending on the situation.
It sounds like being aware of these regional differences is all about respect, too. It shows you're making an effort to understand their culture.
It really does. It shows you're willing to learn and adapt. And that goes a long way in building trust and understanding across cultures.
So this study guide gives us a little snapshot of 21 different Spanish-speaking cultures. And wow, there's a lot to learn. I'm thinking we start with a country everyone thinks they know, Mexico. What's something about Mexican culture that might surprise people?
Well, everyone knows about the Day of the Dead, right?
Yeah.
But they also have this unique Christmas tradition called Las Posadas. It's a 9-day celebration where people go from house to house, singing carols and carrying candles. They're reenacting Mary and Joseph's search for lodging.
That sounds beautiful. It really brings you back to the story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Okay, let's switch gears and head down to Argentina. Besides tango and, oh, those amazing asados, what's something else that's unique about their culture?
Well, Argentina is one of the few Spanish-speaking countries where they use vos instead of tu for the informal you. It's a small difference, but it really sets them apart.
It's incredible how even a tiny word like that can say so much about a culture. Okay, now, how about a country that might be a little less familiar to our listeners?
Okay, let's talk about Panama. Everyone knows about the Panama Canal, of course. But did you know they have this incredible textile art called molas? They're made by the Guna indigenous people, these brightly colored panels with these super intricate designs. They're really stunning.
I've never even heard of molas.
They're amazing. They're more than just pretty designs, though. They tell stories, represent beliefs, and show the history of the Guna people.
It's like each mola is a window into their world. So we've talked about Mexico, Argentina, and Panama. But it feels like we're just scratching the surface. Where should we go next in our exploration?
Hmm. Well, how about we dive into a country where the indigenous languages and traditions are still super strong, like Paraguay. It's one of the few places in the Americas where an indigenous language, Guarani, is still spoken alongside Spanish.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's fascinating. And that dual heritage is everywhere. It's in their music, their food, even their social customs. It creates this really unique cultural blend.
To think that a language like Guarani has survived for centuries alongside Spanish, that's incredible. It really makes you think about the impact of colonization on these cultures.
It's definitely something to consider. Colonization has shaped the Spanish-speaking world in so many ways. It's influenced everything from their language and religion to architecture and social structures.
Mm.
But every country has its own unique story. It's a mix of resistance, adaptation, and cultural blending, which is what makes it so diverse today.
It sounds like understanding the history is key to understanding the culture. What about Spain itself, the birthplace of the Spanish language? What sets their cultural identity apart?
Spain is so interesting because its history is just layers upon layers of different influences. You have the Roman Empire, then the Moorish conquest, and then, of course, a long and powerful Catholic tradition.
Yeah, it's amazing how all those things have come together.
And each region of Spain has its own unique flavor. You have the flamenco of Andalusia, the Basque country with its unique food. It's all so different.
It sounds like Spain is a microcosm of everything we see in the Spanish-speaking world, a mix of history, diversity, and cultural richness. And it reminds us that even within a single country, there can be tons of different perspectives and experiences.
Exactly. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. There's always something new to discover.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've explored everything from Mexico to Argentina to Panama and beyond. But what are some of the big themes that connect these cultures, even though they seem so different on the surface?
Well, one of the biggest themes is the importance of family and community. It's something that's deeply ingrained in so many Hispanic cultures. This emphasis on close-knit families and strong community ties influences how people interact, how they see their place in the world, everything.
It sounds a lot like what we talked about earlier with collectivism, that sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself.
Right, exactly. It's about having a network of support, sharing resources, and celebrating life together. And it also comes out in their hospitality, that genuine warmth and generosity, whether you're a friend or a stranger.
Like that saying, mi casa es su casa.
Exactly. My house is your house. And alongside that hospitality, there's a deep respect for elders and authority figures. You see it in the way they use usted as a formal way of addressing someone older or in a position of authority.
It's about acknowledging their experience and wisdom.
Right. And it goes beyond language. Family elders are often the ones people go to for advice, and they play a huge role in family gatherings and celebrations.
It sounds like they really value tradition and continuity, honoring the past while embracing the present.
And that leads into another important theme, the importance of traditions. Whether it's religious festivals like Las Posadas in Mexico, culinary customs like the asado in Argentina, or musical heritage like the tango, traditions are central to their cultural identity.
It's like those traditions are a link to their history, connecting them to their ancestors and passing on that cultural knowledge to future generations. And it seems like that respect for tradition often goes hand in hand with a strong sense of national pride.
Oh, absolutely. Each country takes huge pride in what makes them unique, whether it's their music, their art, their food, or their natural beauty. It's not just about achievements, it's about their heritage, their resilience, and their contributions to the world.
It's a way of celebrating who they are and sharing their cultural richness.
Exactly. And when you combine that pride with their incredible artistic traditions, their literature, poetry, music, dance, visual arts, you end up with this amazing cultural tapestry.
It's obvious that the Spanish-speaking world is bursting with creative energy. We've only just skimmed the surface, but it's exciting to imagine the depth and diversity of their artistic contributions.
It really is, and I think it all highlights how important it is to approach these cultures with a sense of curiosity and openness. There's so much to learn and appreciate if we're willing to step outside our own cultural bubble and embrace the richness of human diversity.
So we've talked about some of the big cultural themes, but I'm thinking now we could dive into some specific examples The Andean region of South America has always fascinated me. What about Peru? What comes to mind when you think about Peru?
Well, Machu Picchu for sure, right?
Right.
But Peru is so much more than just those incredible ruins. Like their weaving traditions, oh, they're
Yeah.
just mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah, their textiles are
The
beautiful.
colors, the designs, it's all so intricate. And they've been passing these skills down for generations. It's incredible. Each piece tells a story, you know?
Right.
It's about their beliefs, their social status, even historical events.
It's like they're weaving history and culture right into the fabric. Speaking of powerful cultural expressions, what about Chile? I always think about Pablo Neruda, their legendary poet.
Oh, Neruda, yeah. His words just capture the Chilean soul. The passion, the melancholy,
Mhm.
that deep connection to the land.
Yeah.
But Chile is a land of contrasts, too, geographically. You have the Andes Mountains, the Atacama Desert, that dramatic coastline.
Oh, for sure.
And you see that reflected in their cultural identity as well.
It's like the landscape itself has shaped their art and literature.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears completely and head over to the Caribbean, Cuba, to be exact. What's something about Cuban culture that might surprise people? Beyond the music and the cars, I mean.
Well, you can't talk about Cuba without talking about baseball. It's more than just a sport there. It's a huge part of their national identity.
I bet.
It's something people are super passionate about. It brings communities together, and it even reflects their history and their struggles.
Wow, that's fascinating. I can only imagine what those games are like.
Yeah.
Okay, since we're in the Caribbean, let's hop over to Puerto Rico. What sets them apart?
Well, their music scene is incredible, of course.
Uh-huh.
Salsa, reggaeton, and the more traditional bomba and plena dances.
Right.
But it's how those musical styles have evolved that I find so interesting.
How so?
They've blended African rhythms with Spanish melodies and then added in modern influences. It's this vibrant mix that's always changing.
So music and dance are more than just entertainment. It's a way for them to hold on to their heritage and express who they are.
Exactly. It's about connecting with history, expressing emotions, and building a sense of community.
Okay, let's head back to the mainland for a bit. Guatemala is a country I'd love to learn more about.
Guatemala is another place where you can really see the influence of the Mayan civilization even today.
Oh, I know. The ruins there are incredible.
Yeah, but modern-day Guatemala is even more fascinating. It's this blend of indigenous traditions, Spanish colonial influences, and even some African heritage.
Wow, that's a lot of layers. How does that actually play out in their culture?
Well, their textiles are a great example. The colors and patterns aren't just random. They're often filled with symbols and designs that come straight from Mayan cosmology and mythology.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like they're wearing their history and beliefs.
Like wearing a piece of history, literally.
Exactly. And another thing that stands out about Guatemalan culture is their storytelling. They have this rich oral tradition, all these folk tales and legends and myths that have been passed down for centuries.
Oh, wow.
And the stories are full of trickster characters and moral lessons. They give you real insights into how they see the world.
It makes you realize how powerful storytelling can be in shaping a culture's worldview.
It's a way to keep those traditions alive, to connect the past to the present.
So we've explored Peru, Chile, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guatemala. What an amazing journey. Where should we go next?
How about Uruguay? It's often called the Switzerland of South America. You know,
Yeah, I've heard that.
known for its political stability and high quality of life.
It's an interesting comparison. I know they love their mate tea, but what else is unique about Uruguayan culture?
Well, Uruguay has a strong European influence, which you can see in their architecture and food. And of course, they're crazy about soccer, like a lot of South American countries.
Oh, sure.
But they've also blended those influences with their own unique traditions, creating something really special.
It sounds like a place where old world charm meets modern sophistication.
It really is. And while we're down in the southern cone, let's not forget about Paraguay.
Oh, yeah, Paraguay. To be honest, I don't know much about it. What makes their culture unique?
Paraguay is really special because it's one of the few places in the Americas where an indigenous language, Guarani, is still widely spoken along with Spanish.
Wow, really? Two languages?
Yeah, it's like having these two cultural souls intertwined.
That's so cool.
And you can see that dual heritage everywhere you look. It's in their music, their food, their customs, even their humor. It's a truly unique blend.
It sounds like Paraguay is a place where indigenous traditions have not just survived, they've thrived.
Absolutely. And that resilience is something to be admired.
We've covered so much ground today, from South America to Central America and the Caribbean, but we can't forget about Spain itself.
Oh, Spain. It's a country with such a rich and complex history. You have the Roman Empire, the Moorish influence, the strong Catholic tradition. It's all there.
Yeah, it's amazing how all those things have shaped their culture.
And on top of that, each region has its own distinct flavor. The flamenco dancing in Andalusia, the unique food in the Basque Country, it's all so different.
It's like stepping into a living museum of history and culture.
And that's just one country. Imagine all the cultural riches that are out there just waiting to be discovered.
It really is mind-blowing. This deep dive is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole world of cultural exploration ahead of us. But I'm curious, why does all this even matter? Beyond just being interesting, I mean. Why should we care about understanding other cultures?
That's the key question, isn't it? In our world today, where everything is so interconnected, cultural awareness is crucial. It's not just a bonus anymore, it's essential.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Whether we're talking about business, diplomacy, travel, or even just interacting with our neighbors, understanding different cultural perspectives is how we communicate effectively and build strong relationships.
It's like that saying, the world is a book, and those who do not travel only read one page.
I love that. And it goes beyond just avoiding awkward situations. It's about appreciating the beauty of human experience in all its forms, understanding that there are many different ways of seeing the world, and that each one has something valuable to offer.
It helps us challenge our own assumptions and see things from a new perspective. Who knows, we might even learn something about ourselves along the way.
Exactly. Exploring other cultures is as much about self-discovery as it is about discovering the world.
Okay, so we've been on this incredible journey through all these amazing Spanish-speaking cultures. From the Andes to the Caribbean, we've seen how language and culture are connected, how different regions have their own unique flavors, and how traditions, family, and art play such an important role.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride, hasn't it? And now that we're wrapping up this deep dive, I'm curious to explore how we can actually use this knowledge. How do we apply these insights to our daily lives, our interactions with others, our understanding of the world even?
That's a great point. It's one thing to appreciate these cultures from afar, but how can we actually make it meaningful?
I think it starts with recognizing that cultural awareness is a skill. It's not just something nice to have, it's something that can really help us in all areas of our lives. Think about it. We live in a globalized world. Businesses operate across borders. People are migrating and interacting with different cultures all the time. And technology connects us in ways we never could have imagined before.
It's like we're all global citizens now. So, yeah, cultural awareness isn't just for diplomats or travelers anymore. It's for everyone.
Exactly. Whether you're in a business meeting, a social gathering, or just trying to understand someone else's point of view, being aware of cultural differences can make a huge difference. It helps us to remember that our way of doing things isn't the only way, and that other perspectives have value too.
That makes me think about empathy. It seems like that's at the heart of cultural understanding.
Oh, absolutely. Empathy is all about understanding and sharing the feelings of others. And when we take the time to learn about different cultures, to really see things from their perspective, it helps us develop that empathy.
It's like building a bridge between us. And the study guide talks about immersing ourselves in other cultures, like watching films, listening to music, even trying new foods. What are some other ways we can actively engage with different cultures?
Immersion is a fantastic way to start. You really experience the culture firsthand. But I think it's important to go beyond that, to seek out authentic interactions with people from different backgrounds.
So like not just the tourist experience.
Right, exactly. Have a conversation with a neighbor who's from another country, attend a cultural festival, volunteer with an organization that works with diverse communities. Even just reading a book by an author from a different culture can open up your mind.
And it's about approaching those interactions with curiosity, with an open mind.
Definitely. Be curious, ask questions, listen carefully, and be open to challenging your own assumptions. Remember, cultural understanding is a journey, not a destination. It's something we're always learning and growing from.
It's a process.
And like any journey, there will be bumps along the road. We might encounter customs or beliefs that clash with our own. We might struggle with language barriers or misinterpret social cues.
We're bound to make mistakes sometimes.
But that's okay. The important thing is to approach those challenges with humility and respect, to see our mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow.
And to remember that everyone is different. Even within one culture, there are so many different perspectives.
Exactly. It's about embracing that complexity. Cultural understanding isn't about fitting people into neat categories. It's about appreciating their individuality and all those unique stories they have to tell.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm just struck by how powerful cultural understanding can be. It has the power to connect us, to bridge divides, and to make our lives so much richer.
I couldn't agree more. It's about remembering that we're all human, even though we come from different backgrounds. And when we embrace those differences, we create a more beautiful, compassionate, and connected world.
So to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep learning, keep embracing the beauty of human diversity. There's a whole world out there just waiting to be discovered. One conversation, one story, one experience at a time.
Until next time, adios.
Hasta luego.